everybody, I'm visiting FURLENCO today. No, don't reach out for that dictionary, don't look up that word, it does not exist. But if you look at the word carefully, it does reveal its roots to you. Fur, for furniture. Len, from lending. And co, no prizes for guessing, means company. So furniture lending company, that's what FURLENCO is. And today on this show, we're going to find out exactly what they do and how they are one of the most vibrant startups that Bengaluru city plays host to. Thanks for making time for us.
You're welcome, absolutely. And welcome to FURLENCO as well.
Thank you. And what is this? No cabin, or is there a cabin?
No, there's no cabin.
No, there are no walls.
No
secretary to get past.
Well,
what is this? You guys are too cool. Yeah? How do you do private stuff?
Well, we have conference rooms if there's private, but the organization is not about private conversations. As much as possible, most of the information, things like how many deliveries we did, how many pickups we did, what's the revenue of the company, everything is online and people can consume, employees can consume that.
And
so
if you have to yell at someone or pull someone up, how can you do it here?
We have never had a yelling match.
You've not had a yelling match ever?
No, never. That's not the kind of people we are.
Good to hear. Let's take a tour of FURLENCO now, get into the nuts and bolts of what you do here. What is that? I did not see this on your website.
Yeah.
But I saw a video which looks like this is made for people who don't want to get up at all for anything, right?
Yeah, well, to some extent you're right. So this is the pod.
Is there a commode attached?
Except that, I think we've done everything else. So it is a sleeping pad. Pad because it has an entertainment system, a TV, an entertainment system right there. There is speakers and stuff out here. You can attach your laptop here.
Yeah, so charging point.
The charging points. There's a light here. We also gave a laptop table along with this. So yeah, I mean, except for the commode bit, I think we have solved everything else. That's the only reason you may want to get up from this particular thing.
We are, let me tell people, in what is your studio space. This is where all the furniture that you rent out is shot to be presented on the website, on the mobile, on videos, all of that, right? So when you started, you did not think of it as a website interface and a mobile interface, which it is right now.
I have to be honest, it was never an evolved thinking like this.
Wow.
I just plunged into it. And I figured it out as the days went by. I knew that there has to be a
furniture subscription, furniture rental, furniture subscription. That was the big idea.
That was a big idea. And I said, okay,
you were convinced that you would find a market for it, that you would find takers.
To some extent, it's serendipity. To some extent, that market was ripe. But I also had to struggle the first 2-3 years.
Yeah. In fact, you're not like some of the startups or some of the iconic startups that got funding, like really, angel funding and seed funding and the angel investor.
Absolutely.
And all of these lovely terms that are attached to the startup ecosystem.
The beauty of our business was that even investors were not convinced. So in the initial days, investors I see what you mean when I pitched it. I see what you mean, but I know that it's not for me. But let me hear you out. Maybe it's worthwhile for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like the normal taxi service or the food delivery service, which even the investor thinks that I can order food from home or I can take transportation to another place. This is something the VC already has furniture at her home. So she doesn't.
She's not able to relate to the problem or the solution that you were offering for it.
So there is a natural non-bias to it, right? The investors bite into it when you have natural bias towards it. I have a problem, so I'm sure you're solving it, so let me jump onto it. I was taking a problem to them which they did not have, and hence it took them longer. So they went into the logical aspects of the business rather than the emotional aspects of the business. I believe most of the startups which are getting funded large is on the emotional bias. I think it'll work. Oh, by the way, here are the facts that are working. In my case, it was,
the emotion didn't work,
so show me your numbers. Let's dig down. So how are you making money out of it? How much money does a piece of furniture make? So on and so forth, which in the initial years was very tough. Because like every other business, we also had our challenges. So to have all our economics in place from day one was impossible.
When was the turning point when someone says, come on, we'll give you money? I think Lightbox Ventures played a pretty critical role in FURLENCO's journey, right?
So I, jokingly mentioned it to them that they were probably smoking pot when they invested in us.
Good stuff, I'm sure.
No, bad stuff. So we had 200 odd houses then subscribing from us. It was a very difficult period. We were running out of money. So they took a bet on me and the possible concept this can take. And that was it. That was an emotional bet, or rather, I mean, it's incorrect to say it's emotional, but it's like, I think it'll work, so let me back you up. Because we did not have enough numbers on our plate to prove it to them that this works. So it was a leap of faith for them. Luckily, it played out. So kudos to them for having taken that particular step at that time. So, but it needed investors like that. So that was one pivotal moment. Yes. And then, of course, this business cannot be run purely on equity because assets need to be funded. So at some point of time, we had to prove that assets can be funded using debt, which is non-existent for startups. Debt was one of the problems that we solved. It didn't get solved first. Equity had to get solved first. Then a year down the line, we proved it to them that we can pay back money. So why didn't they lend us money? So HNIs gave us money. Then institutions gave us money. Now we have almost everybody in the NBFC space giving us money on a regular basis. Banks have not started yet, but I'm sure once we become profitable, we'll be able to get banks as well to lend to us.
What would you say is the demographic profile of your customer?
20% of our customers are 35 plus. 40% of our customers are 30 plus. 40% of our customers are married too, which is a surprising thing out here that you would think that this is for bachelors. No, 40% of our customers are married. 20% of our customers have kids. They stay, more than 50% of our customers stay in 2-bedroom houses. 90% of them are rentals. That is obvious. It's not yet a homeowner's thing.
But you'd like it to be.
Yeah, with a different philosophy. There it's not about, look, I have a need for a particular kind of furniture for a short period of time. It's more about, I want to change the look of my house every couple of years.
And I can't dispose expensive furniture if
very
I'm bored with it or it just doesn't appeal anymore.
In the today's buying market of furniture, the boredom word cannot come in. You're not allowed to be bored, nothing else, right? Let us put an option in front of people and say that, hey, there is a way to swap out of stuff and get newer stuff because you have newer circumstances in your house.
Yeah, like this is a baby's crib, isn't it?
Yes.
And the baby might grow, and then what do you do with this?
Is not a word. Will grow for sure, right?
Sorry.
So the baby will grow.
The baby will grow, and then what do you do with this?
Spend 15,000-20,000 rupees for something like this because you will spend it. It's your kid. You want the best for your kid. You spend 20,000 rupees.
You get rid of this. You send this back to FURLENCO,
and you walk into something like that.
The bunk beds or something like that.
There's a zing missing in the furniture world.
Right.
Furniture is not the top 5 things that you would do as a millennial, right? You would probably stand outside an Apple store and get your next iPhone, but you don't stand outside an IKEA store getting the. I hope they do, but I don't see anybody doing that. So one of our ambitions is to get that kind of an interest into furniture world. And say, hey, I want the pod.
Marketing as a function then plays a very critical role going forward for your brand and for this company, isn't it?
The first half of it, it's not even half, I would say the first 10% of what we have done is about saying, hey, try us out, right? And that trial has got us to this 100 crore revenue point. Now we start sending out the message that maybe this is a way of life. Tomorrow, if you're moving to, let's say, Mumbai, I already know that Anuradha likes this kind of a furniture. On your app, I'm going to show you that, hey, you seem to have rented this kind of furniture.
So, Ajith, how did an engineer become such a good salesman? Because you're just making the pitch now.
Well, that's what 7 years of doing this business teaches you. So
all the roles you have to have.
I was never a salesman. I'm not a great salesman. I was an introvert. I believe I still am an introvert. I shy away from crowd. I was the last speaker on a table. So these were not traits that I was used to. So to be suddenly put into the limelight is not exactly my my
but
comfort
I guess
zone.
Now you're making this pitch to investors all the time, isn't it?
Get used to it.
Yeah.
You better do it. Otherwise, you will not. I mean, you have to be a salesman at every level.
So if I pull out a bit and I zoom out and look at the bigger picture in the context of the startup ecosystem, are you like all these guys wanting to be this elusive unicorn? The $1 billion valuation? Because that seems to me what is driving almost all the iconic startups that we talk about in this country. Isn't the unicorn an imaginary animal?
What I certainly want to be is a unicorn in terms of revenue. I certainly wish that we have $1 billion revenue. We're not there yet. Hopefully in the coming years we will get there, because that is something that I would be really proud of. Whether we get to be a valuation based unicorn or not, well, it's unfair to say that nobody cares of it, because what it means that you have created some value for not just for yourself but for a bunch of stakeholders in there. So I wouldn't discount it that it's not important at all. The value should grow up, only then more and more money can get into the system. But that being the sole focus of it is not the way to go. I believe that if you focus on the revenue of the company, the valuation automatically will come. What cannot happen is that there is zero revenue or zero profitability focus, and still you expect there's a unicorn valuation happening. Unfortunately, in a business like ours, we had, because it didn't exist before, there was never any XYZ. So there was never Uber of something for us. Oh, so this company did well in the US, so there is a possibility that with a billion population, FURLENCO can also do well. And hence, okay, let me bet on you. It never existed for FURLENCO. So we are the Uber for furniture rentals. So people are getting
great pride in that, isn't it?
I do take pride in that. But the downside is that you then have to pave the way for every question that is out there when it comes to this business.
Ajith feels both the pride and the pressure that comes with building a new category. To understand what powers his passion, he's taking us home.
If you could change one thing about this city, what would you change?
Oh my God, the roads. The road and the traffic pattern. I think we got that perfectly right. It just consumes so much of time, and time is money, and money is being created in the city, but it's also being destroyed by the inefficiencies in the system. I do wish there was a lot more planning in place, urban planning in place for this particular city. Unfortunate that it is not there.
It's not, yeah, it is a big pity. You know, the best part about life is the people we choose to populate it with, and therefore on this show I'm making it a point to meet someone who has played a pivotal role in the life story that has just played out, which is why we are here in Bellandur, which is where Ajith Karimpana lives, and he's going to introduce us to someone who is super special.
That's
you want to
correct.
tell us who it is we're going to meet?
Why don't you keep that as a surprise
Okay,
and
all right.
reveal it in a moment. Please come. Aprajita.
Hi Aprajita, thank you for having us visit your home.
Please come
Please
in.
come.
Please come inside.
Furlenco.
Yes.
No prizes for guessing that, is it?
Obvious, right?
So would you like to have some tea?
I'd love some. Thank you. So, Aparajita, how do you see life as spouse to a startup founder or a startup guy? Is it a support role given the kind of pressures that this kind of work brings?
It's actually both. I mean, it's a support role as well as it's also a partnership between two working
Sugar is okay, right?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right.
two working partners, right? So I think the challenges are more or less same what you will have with husband and wife both working and at the same time trying to raise a family where kids are young. But with the startup, one person running a startup, challenges become little more harder at times, right? Because it's something he runs the company, so he cannot really leave it and come when, let's say, the kid is sick. So I become the primary caregiver.
Yeah. But is that a startup thing or is it a guy thing? It's a gender thing, right?
It's a gender thing in general in India. Yes, that's true. But then with her, if both of us are an employee in an organization, we still have the chance to change it, right? But with a startup and a non-startup, irrespective of, I think, if a woman is running a startup and the man is choosing to be the primary caregiver, that equation will be same.
Ajith, you need to tell us why Aparajita is the person who's played this pivotal role in your life.
So 2010, we moved back from United States, and we were pregnant with our first daughter. It so happened that the whole entrepreneurial bug was somewhere, it was itching, so we decided to. I mean, she was always saying that, look, if you want to do it, just do it. So we were dabbling with a few ideas back in the US, but never really took the full-on plunge. So when we came back, I kept telling her that I got to do this. And I think even never for one moment did she blink an eye saying that, what are we going to do if you quit? How are we going to survive? I think we never had those kind of doubts at all. So
are you saying that you were managed to make that decision, or you managed to take that plunge because she did not doubt it?
Absolutely.
And in fact, she perhaps
if there was
pushed
an iota of doubt, because there were doubts across in the rest of the family, friends. Well, friends didn't discourage,
conventional
but
Indian families are not entrepreneurial, and especially if you're not from the merchant class or the business class.
And I'm from a South Indian family where education is the most important thing. A very typical South Indian family. So
they would have been horrified that you left Goldman Sachs.
Absolutely. So a cushy job, why would you leave that? Business, there's not going to be any time. Even now my mother says, look, I told you would not have time. So she's never agreed to the fact that this is successful. But at that time,
she'll enjoy watching this.
But at that time, if she had put an iota of doubt, it would have been a little more difficult choice to make. It was never the case. So that was one. So wife, spouse supporting makes a big deal in you taking the plunge, because you're already in a self-doubt. Is this the right thing to do? You don't know. I've had so many people coming and asking, how did you take that plunge? If the biggest support of your life doesn't give you that support, then you can never take that plunge. So that happened. Second, during multiple phases of her life, once in 2000 when we were going abroad, she was the financier because I was broke, and she funded my US university application form. Everything was done with her money. She got broke because of me. And this time, second time around in 2010, the good part of her savings, she always used to earn more than me throughout the career.
She's an engineer.
She's an engineer, mathematician, and all of that. She has been earning more than me throughout. From a career perspective, she was one up always. So, which basically means that in the combined savings, her percentage was much higher. So, of course, it was never thought of us like that. So, when time came to take that out and put into something like this, again, there was no question at all, and we did. So more than 50% of our savings was put into this organization at that time. That was if this had gone wrong, we would have been pulled back into like 10 years.
So, Aparajita, what drove you? Was it love and therefore belief, or was it your own belief in the fact that this was a good business bet?
So I think, see, we were still at a phase of life where we were okay to take risk, right? We were still younger, and probably today it would have been a much more difficult choice.
Decision, yeah.
Right, that he would have been in a different position in his career. Then that the decision of leaving something and starting fresh probably would have been more difficult financially. At that point of time, we just moved back from US to India. Yes, what it meant was that our saving will go into half because you are investing in something else you're not sure of. I believed in him that if this doesn't work out, something else will work out. So we had the time in our advantage. So,
but why did you all decide to leave the US and come back to India? What was the trigger? Because both of you had studied there and were working there.
Yeah, we were working there. We were kind of settled there. We both had a decent job, and we already had our bought our house, and we kind of was living there, good friend circle. But then we always knew in our heart that at some point we wanted to come back. And for me, the trigger point was that I wanted my children to be closer to grandparents or extended family. Somehow I thought that being in India, even though we don't live in the same city, being in India gives us that advantage of meeting them frequently. And for him, the driver was always he wanted to do something on his own, and being in a non-resident visa in US, that path was looking longer, right? And the trigger actually happened, the financial crisis that happened that time.
Lehman. Tell us a little bit about your work at Yodlee, which is a financial data aggregator.
If I have to put it simply, it's a fintech company. You can think about it. It's a data and analytics product organization. So what I do currently, I manage the delivery of analytics products. So I kind of perform as a delivery leadership role.
What's work-life balance about?
Work-life balance is difficult. I think it's a challenge for everyone. So for me, because it's a US-based company, I do have to have a lot of night time in calls or in meetings.
For you,
right?
for yourself,
me. So during the day, we have a system that works out, right? They go to school after coming back from school, who picks them up or where they stay. My little one still goes to an after-school daycare, etc. So evening becomes sometimes challenging, where you have to make sure that their dinner is done, they go to the bed, and I have to go back to work after that. So that's a challenge. Some days are worse than some, but then we have been managing. But the other part is, if I have to travel, that is when Ajith takes the primary role.
For me, the definition of startup is you're crunching 20, 30 years of work into 7 to 10 years. The pressure becomes about fundraising, being on the road. When you crunch 30 years into 7 to 10 years, a lot of it has to be externally funded.
And meeting the expectations of your investors, isn't it? On the one hand, and your customers on the other.
Exactly. So that can be a little bit daunting. But then you get used to it, because that's what drives you a little bit. You want to excel in all sides of the world, the customer side and the investor side and your employee side. That's the balance of it. I mean, I didn't mention family, but yeah, that's where a little bit of a sacrifice happens. That it just doesn't come in that particular order in whatever sense. So for me, work-life balance, I have to say that it's a little more towards the startup side. I travel a lot, 10 to 15 days a month. So I'm not there. I mean, we have had our little bit of tips when she has told me that you're not there.
You're not there. I think
there.
that's the statement. You're not there.
To a point that you're there, but you're not there also has happened. So which is true, because you're at home and you still have those calls, which you're preoccupied.
Prajita, thank you for letting us into your home and sharing your life with us. And Ajith, thank you. It was just wonderful meeting you, and I really enjoy furniture, and I love this whole thing of making your identity and expressing it, and you're doing it by giving people an easier options.
Without actually owning it.
Without actually owning it. So that's wonderful. I wish you a lot of good luck. Everybody who's watching a startup wants to figure out how they can do it themselves. Any closing wise words? Hashtag something.
Persevere. Don't believe that any idea can be a foolish idea. When I started this, nobody believed that, including my mom, never believed that rental furniture can ever work. So that myth has been busted. So if you think that you are onto something, just persevere and it will happen. Maybe it'll take some time, but it will happen at the end of the day.
Hashtag persevere. And it will happen. Thank you. It was just
you.
lovely meeting you guys. All good luck.